I wanted to do a video of my top 3 favorite tactical EDC flashlights, and these ones were so difficult to choose because I have so many of these tactical flashlights. And but if I had to go only with 3 of them, these would be the 3 that I'd choose, and I'm going to go through them one by one just to tell you why, essentially, and then we'll go through some beam shots near the end. So when I first started getting into tactical flashlights, I used to look at these ones like around this size. This is the Nextorch TA30C Max, the Nightcore P35R. That's probably another sort of example where you've got a much larger bezel, much larger head. 21700 cell, produces 3000 lumens. I mean, they're just beasts for tactical flashlights in general. And then I started moving on into these smaller ones, and the reason why is because it's just so much easier to carry around when you've got this one in your pocket compared to the TA30C or even one of these smaller ones here. It's like night and day. Of course, you are sacrificing on overall light output. These smaller lights you just can't accommodate for your SFT70s and the like in there, but they're lights that are so easy to just chuck in your pocket. So yeah, I mean, the TA30C Max, this thing is an absolute beast. And if you're in law enforcement and you want something just chunkier that's going to last longer on that 21700 cell, you've got extended runtime, extra power, it's going to stand up to a decent beating. Not that these won't, okay, but certainly it's just a chunkier sort of flashlight that has improved performance over a few different domains. So the Nextorch TA30C, why is this one of my favorite EDC tactical flashlights? Well, obviously you got the size of it, but you have some really amazing features that you don't see on other tactical flashlights out there. You've got these 3 ceramic glass breaking beads on the head. It's also titanium bezel. I really like how the lens is recessed. So if you compare it to this one here, the Fenix PD35R, look at that. The lens is really close to the actual bezel. So if you're using the bezel to smash a window, you could potentially damage it, break the glass there. Less chance of it happening here. And same thing here with the Warrior Mini 3. Okay, this is probably around the same sort of recessed as this one, a little bit more, but yeah, you're definitely going to scratch that up, especially because this is a TIR lens as well. Okay, so you've got that, you've got the larger head, so the larger head produces some additional throw as well, but surprisingly, the PD35R actually throws further than the TA30C, and that's because it's got an SFT40 LED in there. Okay, both of these here on the right have SFT40 LEDs, so they have this sort of de-domed flat die surface, whereas the Nextorch TA30C here on the left, you can see it's just a normal SST40 LED. Okay. So let's go through some of the differences between these lights, and I thought we'll talk a bit about the overall construction, that kind of thing first. And Nextorch, they have this really nice sort of matte black anodization, but it's so grippy, surprisingly grippy. So they can get away with having this basic checkered knurling on there. The construction of it is impeccable. You can see the machining, the anodizing, as I mentioned before, just so smooth. And even the bezel here on the top, this titanium bezel, incredible. If you move on to the PD35, really amazing machining as well. Probably one of the best machined flashlights I've seen out there. Fenix lights. I really like this extra detailing here on the tail cap. Okay, it is sort of smoother though. So if you run your fingers along the side, there's a big difference. Like this, the Nextorch has a lot of grip, whereas the PD35R, your fingers just sort of slip around a lot on them. Okay. Moving on to the Warrior Mini 3, I'd say the anodization on the Warrior Mini 3 is kind of in the middle. It's not slippery, okay, but it's also not as grippy as the Nextorch TA30C. The overall machining, excellent quality, okay, really good quality, and you don't have any nicks or burrs on the light at all, okay, and you can see there's some more aggressive knurling as well to compensate for the fact that the the anodizing is a little bit more slippery, but I did notice that the Mini 3 anodizing is grippier than my Warrior 3S anodizing, so they've changed it a little bit. LEDs wise, you can have a look at them like this to the left here. We've got SST40 on the Nextorch TA30C, SFT40 for these two here, and the SFT40, in my opinion, is one of the best LEDs to put into tactical flashlights because you get a lot of flood, but most importantly, you get a lot of throw to see into the distance, which is really important for me with tactical flashlights. So I think these two have, in my opinion, an advantage in terms of overall beam intensity and throw. Okay, whereas the Nextorch TA30C has an SST40, which is the domed version of this emitter. Okay, but surprisingly throws almost as far as this one, okay, because it has a large smooth reflector in there. Okay, so reflector, these two have reflectors, smooth reflectors, but obviously with the Olight Warrior Mini 3, this is actually a TIR lens, which is a plastic lens, okay, but it keeps the size of the flashlight down a lot. And if we look at the bezel design as well, okay, you've got a bit more pronounced crenulation on the Olight, but this one here, this is really what takes the cake. I mean, if you are looking for something that's really going to do its job in terms of breaking window, the titanium bezel, that's really not going to go anywhere. And you've got these ceramic glass breaking beads, okay? The Fenix PD35R, I think they take a much more conservative approach, okay? So a little bit of crenulation on there. There's not, you can see here how the lens is much more recessed as well. So with the PD35R, there's a little bit of recession underneath, but I wouldn't be comfortable breaking window with this or using it to whack something because, yeah, especially because the bezel is part of the entire body. Maybe you might break the glass, something might come in contact with the glass more readily than say that one. Whereas the Olight here, you can see it's recessed a little bit more, but again, you've got the TR lens, which is made of polycarbonate, which will scratch up easily if it makes contact with glass. In terms of the UIs, I'd say that Nextorch has the most simple and the most tactical, I guess, UI that out of the three. And the reason why is because it's just so simple to use. You've got a half press to access the high mode, full press to access strobe, and there's a significant difference. You can feel the pressure difference when between that momentary and the strobe mode. There you got to press like twice as hard. You've got this ring here that allows you to select the different lower modes as well. So at the moment it's on tactical mode, but you've got first, second, and third mode here. Third is equivalent to the high mode. And if say you're on the lowest mode and you want to access the high mode, half press the button and full press to access that same sort of strobe feature. We've also got a constant on strobe, which I never use. Battery indicator here on the back as well, which is really, really helpful. It's basically the UI. With Fenix, you've got two buttons here on the back, okay? The first one just activates, if you full press, the memorize mode, half press, okay, to activate the last mode that you want on momentary. So you really have to go into it and select what you want. So if you want that sort of lower mode there, you can have that memorized, okay, through the half press. If the flashlight is off, if you press this second little button here at the base, you get strobe, okay. But otherwise, you've got to press that main button and then cycle with that smaller button to access the high modes in there. But that's it. Pretty basic, very easy to figure out as well. With the Warrior Mini 3, you really have a quite interesting interface. So this is the switch on the back, and so if you half press really quickly, you can get a sort of lower mode and press again to turn off. Okay, full press. Okay, if you full press as well, you get access to that high mode. And there's even a proximity sensor in there. So if I try to activate here, it will step down straight away. Interesting thing is that if you activate the high mode like this, and then you block the sensor, it will not step down. It's only if the sensor is already blocked and you activate it, it will step down. Okay, so it really detects also when you want that momentary mode. So if you half press and hold, see, it will switch off. Whereas if you tap, it will just turn on. sustained output. And same here for that highest mode. So you can have that on. Knowing that, you can access the different modes from this button here. So you just basically just press and hold the side switch to access these different modes. Okay, press and hold, turn it off. You press and hold to just access this moonlight mode, which is really useful as well. You can also triple press to get access to the strobe in there. Okay, so it's good that you can access the flashlight from both of these buttons, and yeah, so that you can actually use this as an EDC flashlight as well as a tactical flashlight. A little bit more complicated, but yeah, if you want more options, that's your best choice. So only 2 of these lights have onboard charging, the Olight and the Fenix. So the Olight takes a special magnetic charging cable here to charge the battery inside, whereas Fenix here just has your usual USB-C port that you undo over here. Okay, and you can also use a non-proprietary cell with the Fenix light. You can't do that with the Olight. Nextorch, you can use a non-proprietary cell, but you should use a button top because the flat tops only just fit and they do move around a little bit in there, even though they make contact. With the TA30C, you actually need to take out the battery and charge it separately. There's a charging port on the battery. The advantage of that is that there's no chance of any water getting in there. There's just a less chance of any sand, that kind of thing, stuffing up your flashlight. So if you're looking for the most rugged tactical flashlight out of the lot, I would suggest getting the Nextorch TA30C. It's also the most simplest UI out of the bunch. Okay, the thing is just built like a rock. There's less chance of, like I said, water ingress. There's no issues there. There's only that back end that opens up. This light is used by law enforcement teams in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland as well. Proper striking bezel surface as well with these 3 ceramic beads. And also, you have some additional features, some additional accessories that you can buy with the TA30C that you don't get with these other 2. These 2 just come with a usual nylon holster. This one here, you get a nice, you can buy one of these. It's a tactical ring, the FR ring, that attaches onto the back, makes it easier to hold the flashlight and draw it from your pocket, put it back in. And this one here is a specially designed holster also for the TA30C. Clips onto your belt. You can adjust the width of your belt. You can even adjust it so that the light is facing out, and for hands-free usage, just to light the path ahead of you. Okay, so if you're looking for probably the best all-rounder, I would go for this one here, the PD35R, and also it throws the furthest out of the lot. Okay, so it's simple UI, throws furthest, got great construction. It's a little bit slippery. The anodizing, less detail and robustness in terms of the bezel. So you know, one of the positives as well is that you're going to be fine getting this across if you're keeping it in your carry-on luggage or something while you're traveling. No one's going to question this, but this thing, I don't think you're going to be able to get that onto a plane for sure. The PD35R is just, it's one of my favorites out there because it's just got a great combination of throw and ease of use. You know, the fact that you've got USB-C charging on here as well, just beautifully constructed. The Olight is probably one if you're, you know, maybe getting into tactical flashlights, or you want a tactical flashlight that can also be used as an EDC. Okay, the fact that you can operate the lower modes with that button here on the side. You've got the creature comforts as well, like magnetic charging. It's small. This thing is tiny. I carry this one around quite often. The only thing that gets to me is, yeah, if the battery runs out, I can't find just a normal charger to charge this light up. Whereas these 2, all you need is access to a USB-C charging cable, and you're done. So let's cut to the beam shots, and you can see how they all perform together. Nextorch TA30C versus the Fenix PD35R versus the Olight Warrior Mini 3. So this is the Nextorch TA30C first. Wow, Okay, pretty bright. And on the right here we've got the Fenix PD35R, and look at that. The PD35R is throwing further. There's no doubt about that. A little further. You got that smooth reflector plus SFT40. The SFT40 is always, I mean, all things being equal, it's going to out-throw. Okay. See back of those. Look at those trees. Even it's illuminating those trees with a little bit more ease. Okay. But yeah, as you can see, the hotspot of the TA30C is more diffused. Okay, and that's the PD35R, and definitely a lot more rounder sort of hotspot and separated from the spill. But you don't have that same beam pattern, because with the TA30C it's an SST40 in there, so that produces a little bit extra. Okay. It was weird, I just thought I saw something behind that tree for a second. Freaked me out a little bit. Okay. Let's get the Olight out. Or Olight Warrior Mini 3. And the Mini 3, look at that, it's just this large hotspot. Really large hotspot with some decent spill, especially with the smaller TIR lens in here, and it's on the high mode as well, which means you get some additional spill. In the lower modes, these TIR lenses don't produce a whole lot of spill, so you kind of got to step it up a bit. That's the medium mode, or the lower of the two tactical modes. Okay, high, and lower mode, high. Okay, and we'll compare that that's with my Fenix PD35R and the Olight. Okay, so I mean the Fenix throws further, no competition there. Should do this a bit slower actually. First, someone's commented on me doing them too quickly, so I have to make sure I'm not overdoing it. And you can see the Warrior Mini 3 is already stepping down quite quickly. TA30C again. Yeah, TA30C, Fenix PD35R. Okay, kind of approximating each other now because the PD35 has stepped down a touch.